This was his first officer-involved shooting. Like I said, he used his departmentally issued AR-15 and fired 4 times from that. I can answer a few questions if anybody has them.
When this confrontation occurred with police, the subject, you said he refused to drop his gun. Did he say anything in this confrontation, or was he just silent and just didn't do it?
Yeah, there was actually no conversation between the officer and the subject. When he exited, he did have the gun in his hand. He turned towards the officer. The officer instructed him to drop the gun. He did not do that, continued to stand there for a second. The officer fired at him in the course of asking him to drop the gun and firing. The subject turned back through the open door, back inside.
Was the gun ever pointed at officers, or was it just in his hand down to the ground?
It was raised to a level that the officer felt in fear, so yes.
Is it normal on a shots fired call for the officer to respond with the AR-15 out like that?
I mentioned this morning the dangerousness of what we do. These officers are very proficient in the use of these rifles. The rifles are issued because of their ability to better control situations. Sometimes the officer chose to arm himself with that. He's well within his right, within policy and our procedures to do that. Again, this is what he elected to do, and he did. So.
Can you talk about an officer's decision to fire and what's considered what they're trained to consider before doing so?
Generally speaking, an officer is there to protect his life and the life of others. As this male exited, the subject had what we identified, or the officer there, identified as a firearm in his hand. It's that point that you have to make a decision, and as that gun is being raised up, is that about to be used on me? I have a lawful duty and right to protect myself and others. And these are all split-second decisions that these officers are encountering and having to deal with. The officer made that decision at that point in time. There are other factors that are considered. Your surroundings, who's in the backdrop, there's just a whole myriad of things that need to be considered, and that's in split seconds that he has to do that. So.
Police, obviously this officer knew that people were inside the home when he was shooting at the subject. With that one bullet straying inside the house, is that something that needs to be considered, that the subject was standing in front of the house with a baby inside of it when you're firing shots at the house?
The officer at that point in time, I don't believe he would even have been aware that there was a child inside the apartment. But it is a consideration that's always taken as to what is your backdrop, where would those stray rounds go. But there also is that point that I'm not going to allow myself to be injured or killed. And again, these are all split-second decisions.
What was the distance between the officer and the subject with the weapon?
I hate to estimate, but maybe 50 feet or so.
Any further questions?
That's the BB pistol right there, right?
Yeah, this is the firearm or the pistol that was recovered from on top of the cabinet. You'll each be given an electronic copy of this if you wish to use it.
Just to be clear, this is the gun that he had in his hand when he was outside, correct?
This is the only gun that we recovered inside the apartment.
Okay.
So you don't know for sure if that's the one he got. Okay.
Any further questions? Thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much.